When Walmart speaks, the entire economy listens. As America's largest retailer, Walmart has long been a reflection of the country's financial health. But their latest warning is sending shockwaves through the economy. And what they're seeing is downright frightening. Shoppers are cutting back on essentials. Sales growth is slowing. Even middle-class and high-income households are feeling the squeeze. But that's just the beginning. Walmart's chief financial officer just admitted that consumer behavior is becoming unpredictable, a sign that financial pressures are reaching every level of society. Stick with me until the end because I'll break down exactly what this means for you, how to prepare, and the critical mistakes you need to avoid. Let's get into it. What's happening? For years, American retail has relied on a few key giants to keep the economy moving, and few have been as influential as Walmart. But its latest earnings report reveals a disturbing trend. Walmart's sales growth has slowed dramatically, barely keeping pace with inflation. Consumers are cutting back, even on essentials like groceries, hygiene products, and household goods. When people start spending less at Walmart, it means they are prioritizing only the absolute necessities, likely because their paychecks are no longer stretching as far as they used to. Foot traffic in stores has declined, and even Walmart's digital business, once seen as a major growth driver, is not experiencing the surge it needs to offset the slowdown in physical stores. Retail analysts have noted that Walmart's declining sales are part of a larger economic slowdown, one that could signal a recession on the horizon. Historically, when lower-income and middle-class shoppers begin cutting back, it is a sign that financial pressure is rising nationwide. The same patterns were seen before the Great Recession in 2008 and before previous economic downturns. If Walmart is struggling, it is a direct reflection of how the average American is struggling too. But it is not just slowing sales that tell the story. How shoppers are spending their money has also drastically changed. Walmart's secret strategy. The company's private label brands, generic alternatives to name brand products, are selling at record-breaking levels. This trend is known as the trade-down effect, where consumers shift away from premium brands and choose cheaper, store-brand alternatives to stretch their budgets further. This shift is not just occurring among lower-income shoppers. Even middle-class households, who once had the flexibility to buy higher-end brands at competitors like Target, Kroger, or Publix, are now turning to Walmart's in-house brands for everyday essentials. The message is clear. Economic pressure is not just affecting the poorest Americans. It is squeezing the middle class too. Walmart executives have publicly acknowledged this shift, noting that higher-income shoppers, those earning over $100,000 per year, are now shopping at Walmart in increasing numbers. These are households that, just a few years ago, might not have considered Walmart their primary shopping destination. This confirms what many have suspected. Inflation has not truly eased, and people are feeling the pressure in their everyday expenses. The trade-down effect is a clear indicator that Americans are changing their shopping behaviors out of financial necessity, not just preference. If this trend continues, it will have major implications for brand name manufacturers and other retailers who rely on premium pricing. Walmart, in many ways, is a litmus test for consumer spending habits, and right now, the results do not look good. But it is not just the products on Walmart's shelves that are changing. The company is also making massive shifts behind the scenes that could spell bad news for workers. Silent job cuts. Despite no major layoff announcements, Walmart's workforce is quietly shrinking. Stores that once employed dozens of cashiers are now relying almost entirely on self-checkout lanes, AI-driven stocking systems, and warehouse automation. This move toward automation has helped Walmart cut labor costs without making headline-grabbing layoff announcements. But the impact is clear. There are fewer jobs available at Walmart today than ever before. Even when Walmart opens new locations, they are doing so with far fewer employees than in the past. A store that once required 200 workers to operate efficiently now might run with only 150 or fewer, thanks to automation and digital ordering systems. This means that Walmart's workforce reduction is happening in slow motion, without the dramatic job cuts that would normally capture public attention. This silent job reduction does not just affect Walmart employees. It creates a ripple effect across the entire retail industry. Other major retailers tend to follow Walmart's lead, meaning the shift toward automation will likely result in fewer retail jobs across the board. At a time when many Americans are already struggling to find stable, well-paying work, these hidden job cuts could have long-term consequences for employment rates and job security. Walmart's shrinking workforce also raises concerns about customer experience and security. Many shoppers have complained about glitches in self-checkout machines, long lines due to fewer human cashiers, and a lack of customer service staff available to assist with issues. In some locations, shoplifting has surged because fewer employees are monitoring stores, leading to higher theft rates and increased costs for retailers. For years, Walmart was a major employer for entry-level workers, students, and retirees looking for part-time income. Now that opportunity is slowly disappearing, with fewer positions available and fewer hours offered to existing employees. The question is, how much longer can Walmart keep cutting jobs before it starts to impact overall sales and customer satisfaction? But the biggest red flag of all came straight from Walmart's own leadership. Its chief financial officer just admitted that the economy is far more unstable than they had predicted. Walmart's CFO drops a bombshell. If there was any lingering doubt that the U.S. economy is facing serious trouble, Walmart's chief financial officer just erased it. During a recent earnings call, he admitted that Walmart is struggling to predict consumer behavior, citing economic uncertainty, changing spending habits, and rising financial pressures on American households. When a company as large as Walmart openly states that it does not know what to expect from shoppers in the coming months, it is a sign that the economic landscape is far more unstable than many realize. Corporations usually try to project confidence in their earnings calls, reassuring investors that business is strong and growth is steady. For Walmart's leadership to publicly admit that they are unsure about the future is a huge red flag. The term uncertainty is often used in corporate earnings reports as a coded way of saying that trouble is brewing. Walmart is seeing signs that consumer demand is becoming increasingly unpredictable, which means households are adjusting their spending on a month-to-month basis, depending on economic conditions. This level of unpredictability makes it difficult for retailers to plan ahead, leading to cautious hiring, tighter inventory management, and slower growth overall. Another key warning from Walmart's leadership is that geopolitical and economic risks are making forecasting more difficult. Rising tariffs, supply chain disruptions, and inflationary pressures are all contributing to an environment where retailers simply cannot plan with confidence. This is not just about Walmart. It is a signal that businesses across the country are facing major economic headwinds. When the world's largest retailer says that the future looks unstable, it should be a wake-up call for every American. Walmart has access to some of the most detailed consumer data in the world. If their analysts are seeing warning signs, that means the broader economy is heading into dangerous territory. But Walmart isn't the only one struggling. Other major retailers are feeling the pain too. When one retail giant struggles, it can be a fluke. When the entire industry starts sinking, it's a crisis. Target, Amazon, and other retailers are reporting weakness. Retail struggles are no longer isolated to Walmart. Major companies like Amazon, Target, and Nordstrom are all reporting slowing sales growth and weakening demand. These are businesses that cater to very different income groups. Amazon dominates online shopping. Target appeals to middle-class families, and Nordstrom serves higher-income consumers. Yet all three are experiencing the same problem. Customers are cutting back. This is not just an issue for low-income shoppers trying to stretch their budgets. It is a sign that even the middle-class and wealthier consumers are feeling financial pressure. Amazon's online marketplace, once seemingly unstoppable, has reported slowing revenue growth, signaling that even convenience-driven shoppers are rethinking their spending. Target, which has historically positioned itself as a more premium alternative to Walmart, is seeing shoppers switching to discount brands and prioritizing essentials over discretionary items. Nordstrom, a store that relies on upper-middle class and wealthy customers, has also seen a drop in foot traffic and luxury spending, a clear indication that even high-income earners are reevaluating their budget. When retailers across all price points report sales slumps at the same time, it is no longer just an issue of individual companies. It is a systemic economic problem. If middle and high-income consumers are pulling back on spending, it means economic concerns are reaching every level of society. This trend raises serious concerns about the future of consumer-driven industries and whether we are heading into a prolonged downturn. And if fewer people are shopping, retailers have no choice but to close stores, leading to a retail bloodbath that is just getting started. A retail bloodbath. The U.S. retail landscape is undergoing a dramatic transformation, and not in a good way. Store closures are accelerating across the country, leaving behind empty shopping centers and devastated local economies. Macy's, Walgreens, Best Buy, and Starbucks are all shutting down locations at an alarming rate. Many of these closures are happening in major cities, where rising theft, declining foot traffic, and shifting consumer habits have made physical stores less profitable. Macy's, once a cornerstone of American shopping malls, has announced plans to shut down dozens of stores as foot traffic continues to decline. Walgreens, a pharmacy chain that should be recession-proof due to its focus on essential goods, has closed hundreds of locations, citing theft, lower sales, and operational inefficiencies. Even Best Buy, which has largely dominated the electronics retail sector, is feeling the pressure, reducing store sizes and focusing more on online sales as demand for in-store shopping dwindles. Perhaps the most surprising closure trend is happening with Starbucks. Unlike traditional retailers, Starbucks relies on daily consumer spending habits, meaning its business model should be somewhat insulated from economic downturns. However, the company has shut down over 100 locations in major cities, citing a mix of crime, changing customer behavior, and economic challenges. When even an iconic brand like Starbucks is closing stores, it is a clear indication that something is seriously wrong with consumer spending patterns. These store closures do not just impact the companies themselves. They set off a chain reaction that affects workers, local economies, and even the real estate market. As retailers exit once thriving areas, they leave behind vacant properties, falling property values, and fewer jobs. The U.S. is facing a retail apocalypse that is not slowing down. In fact, it is getting worse. And as stores shut down, another crisis is brewing, one that could shake the financial system just like the housing crash of 2008. The hidden threat. Store closures are not just a retail problem. They are a ticking time bomb for commercial real estate. Shopping malls, strip centers, and urban retail spaces rely on a steady flow of tenants to pay their rents and keep property values stable. When retailers start shutting down in large numbers, landlords struggle to find new tenants, leading to a dangerous ripple effect in the real estate market. Many commercial property owners took out massive loans to finance shopping centers and retail spaces, expecting that consumer spending would remain strong. Now, with retailers abandoning these locations, landlords are being left with empty properties and unpaid mortgages. This situation is eerily similar to the housing crisis of 2008, where a wave of loan defaults triggered a massive financial collapse. In cities across America, abandoned retail spaces are turning into financial liabilities. Without new tenants, property values plummet, making it difficult for landlords to refinance their debts. Banks that issued loans for commercial real estate are now facing a potential wave of defaults, which could put significant pressure on the financial system. The collapse of the commercial real estate sector could trigger a broader economic downturn, especially since many regional banks are heavily exposed to these loans. If landlords cannot pay their debts and banks start to feel the squeeze, the risk of a financial crisis becomes very real. But the scariest part? But Walmart's warning is actually part of an even bigger crisis. Inflation is still squeezing consumers. For months, headlines have reassured Americans that inflation is finally cooling off. But the reality on the ground tells a different story. Prices are still rising, and for many households, the cost of living continues to outpace wage growth. Essentials like rent, groceries, energy, and insurance have become significantly more expensive, forcing families to cut back on spending wherever they can. Walmart's recent sales data proves this point. Shoppers aren't just looking for deals. They're switching to cheaper brands, buying less overall, and even skipping certain purchases entirely. Families that once bought name-brand groceries are now filling their carts with Walmart's private label goods, a clear sign that consumer confidence is eroding. Even middle-class households, which once had financial flexibility, are now feeling the squeeze. The problem isn't just higher prices. It's also the hidden costs creeping into everyday life. Auto insurance premiums have skyrocketed, rent prices remain at record highs, and medical costs continue to burden families. While wages may have increased slightly, they haven't kept up with the rising cost of essentials, leaving Americans with shrinking disposable income. And if inflation wasn't already a burden, rising interest rates are making things even worse. Rising interest rates are freezing the economy. Interest rates are now at their highest levels in over 2 decades, and the impact is being felt across the economy. Home sales have plummeted because mortgage rates are making it nearly impossible for buyers to afford homes. Many would-be homebuyers who had planned to enter the market are now forced to rent indefinitely, driving rental prices even higher. Those who did buy homes at peak prices with low interest rates are now trapped, unable to sell because refinancing is no longer an option. The auto industry is experiencing a similar freeze. Car loan rates are soaring, and the cost of new vehicles remains high, leading to a surge in auto loan defaults. Many Americans who bought cars in the last few years are now struggling to keep up with their payments, and repossessions are on the rise. This isn't just a problem for consumers. It's a warning sign for the entire economy. Small businesses are also feeling the pain. Higher borrowing costs mean that businesses relying on loans are struggling to expand or even stay afloat. Many are now delaying hiring, reducing inventory, or even shutting down altogether. This chain reaction leads to fewer jobs, lower wages, and a decline in overall economic growth. Walmart's latest earnings report reflects these trends. Consumers aren't spending as much, and the reason is clear. High interest rates are discouraging spending and forcing people to rethink every financial decision. And for many families, rising interest rates aren't just slowing down spending. They're making it impossible to keep up with debt. Credit card debt is at record highs. As inflation pushed up the cost of everyday expenses, many families turned to credit cards just to keep up. Groceries, gas, and medical bills are now frequently charged on credit, leading to a rapid accumulation of debt. The problem? Interest rates on credit cards have also surged, making it harder than ever to pay off balances. Delinquency rates are climbing at an alarming rate. More and more Americans are missing payments, triggering late fees and penalty interest rates that only make the situation worse. For those already struggling, even a small financial setback, a medical emergency, a car repair, or a job loss can send them spiraling into financial ruin. Retailers like Walmart are seeing the effects firsthand. Consumers are prioritizing absolute necessities over discretionary spending, which means less shopping, fewer large purchases, and declining retail sales. This is exactly why Walmart's CFO warned about uncertainty in consumer behavior. Because when people can't afford to pay their bills, they certainly aren't spending on extras. And when consumers stop spending, the entire economy slows down. But what if I told you that we're already on the verge of a full-blown recession? The recession. Nobody wants to admit is coming. Economists, Wall Street analysts, and corporate executives have been cautiously optimistic about the economy, claiming that the US is headed for a soft landing, but Walmart's warning suggests otherwise. The economic slowdown is happening faster than most experts predicted, and many of the warning signs look eerily similar to previous recessions. Consumer confidence is plummeting. When people lose confidence in the economy, they spend less, save more, and delay major purchases. This shift in behavior leads to lower corporate profits, job losses, and business closures, a classic recipe for a recession. The job market is also showing cracks. While unemployment rates remain low, layoffs are increasing in key industries. Large companies are quietly downsizing, freezing hiring, or replacing workers with automation. The tech industry, once a symbol of job security, has already seen tens of thousands of layoffs, and other sectors are following suit. Debt bubbles are another major concern. In addition to credit card debt, Americans are struggling with student loans, auto loans, and mortgage debt. If these debt levels become unsustainable, we could see a wave of defaults that ripple through the banking system, just like the subprime mortgage crisis in 2008. History tells us that when major retailers like Walmart start issuing warnings about economic uncertainty, a recession is usually not far behind. The last time we saw similar warnings? Just before the dot-com bubble burst in 2000 and the Great Recession in 2008. So, if Walmart is warning us about a financial storm, how can you protect yourself from what's coming next? Smart ways to cut costs without sacrificing quality. With rising prices affecting everything from groceries to household essentials, cutting unnecessary spending is no longer just smart, it is necessary. Many families are already feeling the squeeze as wages fail to keep pace with inflation. But cutting costs does not have to mean sacrificing quality. By making strategic shopping decisions, you can stretch every dollar further without feeling like you're living with less. One of the best ways to combat rising prices is to buy in bulk, especially for non-perishable items such as rice, pasta, canned goods, and household supplies. Many warehouse stores offer significant discounts when you purchase larger quantities. Even at Walmart, buying family-sized packs or multi-packs can lead to major savings over time. Another essential strategy is to take advantage of cashback apps and loyalty programs. Walmart, Target, and many other retailers offer reward systems that help you save money on everyday purchases. Apps like Rakuten, Ibotta, and Fetch Rewards give cash back on groceries, clothing, and even gas. These small savings add up and can help offset the cost of rising prices. Switching to generic brands is another underrated way to cut costs without sacrificing quality. Many store brand products are manufactured by the same companies that make name brand items, just with different packaging. From pantry staples to over-the-counter medications, generic options often provide the same quality at a fraction of the cost. But even if you master smarter shopping habits, there is another financial pitfall that can quietly destroy your stability: debt. Avoiding the trap. One of the biggest financial threats during an economic downturn is rising debt, particularly credit card debt. As inflation pushes prices higher, many Americans are relying on credit cards to cover daily expenses. But with interest rates at their highest levels in decades, this is a financial trap that can spiral out of control quickly. To avoid financial disaster, the first step is tackling high-interest debt aggressively. Credit card interest rates can exceed 20%, meaning that even a small balance can balloon over time. Prioritizing the repayment of high-interest debt, even if it means making temporary sacrifices elsewhere, will save you hundreds or even thousands of dollars in the long run. Another key strategy is avoiding unnecessary purchases on credit, especially for non-essential or luxury items. Many people fall into the trap of thinking, "I'll just pay it off later," only to find themselves buried in interest fees. Instead of using credit for things you do not absolutely need, focus on spending only what you can afford to pay off each month. Building an emergency fund is another crucial step. With layoffs on the rise and the job market becoming more unstable, having at least 3 to 6 months worth of expenses saved can be a financial lifesaver. This ensures that if you lose your job or face unexpected costs, you do not have to rely on high-interest debt to stay afloat. But avoiding debt is just one piece of the puzzle. Protecting your income and job security is just as critical in an unstable economy. Job security in an unstable economy. With layoffs rising, automation replacing jobs, and retailers shutting down stores, the job market is shifting faster than ever. The traditional idea of working for the same company for decades is quickly disappearing, and those who do not adapt risk being left behind. One of the best ways to stay ahead is by positioning yourself in growing industries. Sectors such as healthcare, cybersecurity, and skilled trades are still experiencing high demand. These industries are less likely to be affected by economic downturns because people will always need medical care. Businesses will always need cybersecurity, and essential trades like plumbing and electrical work cannot be automated away. If you are in a declining industry, now may be the time to start retraining for a more stable field. Developing new skills or starting a side hustle can also provide extra security. The gig economy, freelance work, and online businesses offer opportunities to earn additional income outside of a traditional job. Even something as simple as learning a new digital skill, such as coding, marketing, or graphic design, can open doors to remote and contract work that provides financial flexibility. Perhaps the most important strategy in an unstable job market is to avoid depending on just one income source. Relying solely on one paycheck is risky, especially when companies are cutting costs and reducing hours. By diversifying your income through multiple streams, such as freelance work, investments, or even renting out a property, you create a safety net that protects you in case your primary job is impacted. But even if you take all these steps to prepare, there is still one major question left. How bad is this crisis going to get? What happens next? Walmart's warning, combined with slowing retail sales, rising credit card debt, and declining job security, signals a serious economic slowdown ahead. But how bad will it get? One of the biggest risks is a major economic slowdown that leads to mass layoffs and a full-blown recession. If consumer spending continues to decline, businesses across multiple industries will be forced to cut jobs to survive. A sharp increase in unemployment could accelerate the downturn, making it harder for families to stay financially stable. Another major concern is the impact on housing, stock markets, and major industries. As interest rates remain high, the housing market is already slowing down, with fewer buyers able to afford homes. If demand continues to shrink, home prices could start dropping, leading to another real estate crisis. The stock market, which has been propped up by speculation and debt-fueled growth, could also take a major hit if consumer confidence collapses. For everyday Americans, this could be the last warning before the economy takes a turn for the worse. Those who prepare now, by cutting unnecessary spending, reducing debt, securing multiple income streams, and staying informed, will be in a much stronger position to weather the storm. But those who ignore the warning signs risk being caught off guard when the next crisis fully unfolds. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think Walmart's warning is overblown? Or is this the beginning of something much worse? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.